Okay, hi, this is Bill Hartzer, and today is March 5th, 2020. This is the Digital Marketing Podcast with Bill Hartzer, Digital Marketing with Bill Hartzer podcast. And today I have Jeff Gabriel from saw.com, and we're talking specifically about domain names and, .com, whatever.com, Hartzer.com, saw.com. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Jeff, and how you got into the domain name business.
Sure. And thank you, Bill, for having me. I always
Sure.
appreciate it. I got my start many moons ago, close to 10 years ago at Cedo. Prior to that, I was doing numerous sales jobs. And I came across Cedo because I thought their business model was something really interesting. I didn't know when I used to, if you remember the old Cedo site, it would have all the auctions and domains for sale. It's
Sure.
changed a little bit, but it's still relatively similar. And I was like, what is this? And I used to actually try to sell products to them, these HR staffing products. And when the economy kind of imploded on itself a little over 10 years ago, I went back to companies that I thought had interesting business models, and Cedo was one of them. I worked there a number of years where I actually sold sex.com for 13 million. That was the highest .com sale ever for a while, but it's recently been broken. Obviously, GoDaddy sold voice.com for 30 million.
Sure.
Money.com sold for 20 million. And 360.com sold for 17 million. So I'll still be happy to take fourth place. And the other thing is I'm happy to see that my record's been broken multiple times, because that's showing us that the market is growing and the value of domains continue to rise, right? So I
Sure.
sold that in 2013 or 2000. No, it was 2010 I sold it. And in 2010 I sold it. So I mean, 10 years later, if I was still the top sale, I'd be worried, right? I wouldn't think that the market was growing. So from there, I left Cedo. I founded a company called Domain Advisors. We rebranded that to Igloo. That sold to Brand IT, or Brand It, however you want to call it. And from there, worked at Uniregistry, which is called Domain Name Sales prior to that, for just under 7 years. Built a sales team from 4 of us to just under 40 people. We did over 300 million or $350 million in sales in my tenure there. And it was a wonderful time, great experience. I left there. That's recently sold to GoDaddy for, I think, close to $190 million. 186, I think, is the word on the street. And now I've launched recently. We officially launched in mid-December. I really am counting 1st of January, because we were still working on some of the technology and
Sure.
things like that. So we just launched, and it's been great. We have myself, 3 salespeople working with me, including my co-founder Amanda Waltz, and we have a good little team of support staff as well. And even you've helped us immensely in our
Sure.
business too. So it's been a really great experience. It's great to see that the little piston engine's running. One of the cylinders was running, but now we got all 4 chugging. So
Yeah.
hopefully in a couple months we'll turn into a nice 6-cylinder, and then an 8-cylinder, and then a 12-cylinder, and we'll really start to
Sure.
fire and really get going. So I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. So let's talk some domains.
Yeah. So acquiring domains. I mean, I basically let's talk a little bit about I guess the process of sure. You're starting a new business. You're trying to get a brand. You look and see what whether the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the different Instagram handles are available. But then, okay, well, yeah, you want to actually find also ideally something that where the .com or the is available as well. And certainly that's not not taken. So it's a little bit difficult now, more and more to find find a good .com that's not already taken. Certainly then the next step is, I guess, if we find something, I guess, would be to somehow approach the owner and figure out, okay, well, how much is this domain worth, and whether or not you even should spend, a fair amount. I mean, what on a domain.
Well, I think that the question that a lot of people should ask themselves, right,
Mhm.
is and look themselves in the mirror and say, what are my goals for this company? How long do I want to be involved in this company
Yep.
for, and where do I want to take it? And also, what is the style of your business? If you are relying on, especially your business to consumer, right? If you're relying on repeat business, word of mouth marketing, if you're relying on somehow establishing credibility quite quickly to get conversions to
Yep.
happen,
Yep.
having a half-assed domain name is not a good thing, right? And you cannot tell me one company that has a half-assed domain name that's a household name. Name one that has one with a dash in it, or is really long, or is just really bad. Your market leaders have usually a very strong .com domain. All right.
Yep.
And it gets so ingrained in people. I mean, to the point, now this is an extreme example that I'm going to give you, but I urge anybody who uses Google as a search engine to switch to Yahoo for a week and tell me if you can actually do it. Because when I do it, I type in Google. Even if I say Yahoo out loud, I type in Google. Like my fingers are trained.
Yep.
People become trained for Amazon, and they also become trained for other places that they go to on a regular basis. And those domains, 99.9% of the time, are .coms. The only one that I go to that's a major player that I go to that's a dot anything else really on a regular basis is Verizon to pay my phone bill. Verizon.net is really one of the only huge big ones. But I believe they also own the .com. They're just still pushing that .net. But not everyone has, including myself, $1 million to spend on a domain name.
Sure.
But it's saddening to me to see companies that are spending more money on a printer or on a coffee maker than they are on their domain. So, and again, you can't tell me any other way. If your domain name is really poor, but you're spending millions in other places or hundreds of thousands in other places, that you aren't looking at the front door to your business. And in order to be taken seriously, you really need that. And again, I find it interesting to see a lot of these startups using the .io, the .ai, the .co. I don't know if people even realize that .io is Indian Ocean, and it's a
Yep.
CCTLD. And CCTLDs go to their own rules and regulations. I mean, you could wake up one day, just like the Chinese did on .cn, and said you have to be a Chinese citizen in order to own these domains. And what would happen if something similar happened there, and your business is totally built on that IO? You're in trouble. The other thing is that if you walk down the street and you tell someone cars.io, how many people in the public actually even know that exists or what that means? They don't. So
Yep.
you're going to have to spend a lot of money to change that perception and change habit to get them to go to your business or to convert, over radio advertising, word of mouth advertising, conference advertising. And then you get into, sorry, I'm taking over your whole podcast. I'm very passionate about this, but then you get
Sure.
into like email and email security and phishing. What would happen if a
Yep.
scammer got on the .com on you or something similar to your brand or the .net and started hitting your customers, or your customers are emailing them and they're emailing them back, or you have the .co, they hit them with the .net or anything like that. There's a lot to do with security these days and
Yep.
privacy issues, and people have
Yep.
held companies hostage based on this stuff. So there's many levels and reasons why you should have the right domain. And it's important. And if you have a small budget, there's ways that you can find maybe a second tier rather than your sex.com or your cars.com. I mean, I'm not saying go out and spend $10 million, but you easily can find domains that are between $2,000, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. And a lot of the sellers that I work with on a regular basis would even let you pay for them over time. So,
Yep.
there's no real excuse if you're really serious about building something that you can't get something good. And, that's one of the things that we specialize in a business is we hear what entrepreneurs, visionaries, ideas guys, or established businesses have to tell us about where their business is, where they want to bring it, and the money they have to spend, and how we can make it work. And then we go out there and we find them some good, solid options at reasonable prices based on what their goals are. And like anything in life, you need to pay for quality, and you need to pay for the best, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, and nowadays, especially, we start to think about, even in the past week with all of the everybody talking about companies going remote. That means, okay, if you're remote and you're remoting in, that means it's online, and more people are using are essentially online, and that domain is the one of the first things, or the thing that people see all the time in the web address. And so it's that branding, it's that it's they're seeing it over and over and over again. And it needs to, and it does need to be presented in the best light as possible. There's several parts to having marketing, having a good brand, which is your having a good name, having a good having a good logo, having the right colors and right color scheme and good web design. But again, the having a good domain really also is presents your company and your business in the best light possible. And rather, we talked earlier about some domains that are, or some companies that are using ones that are not .coms. Think about Zoom.us, right? I think you mentioned that to me the other day. And I mean, that there are not many out there that are not, that are major companies that are not using a strong .com.
Yeah, especially in the United States, right?
Yep.
I feel like when I travel to Canada, .ca is quite strong. I think if you use a .ca in the U.S., a lot of people think it's .california, right? Um, but I travel quite a lot, and Zoom.us is a company that I see with billboards all over airports throughout the United States and internationally, and I scratch my head about it, because I know that I know the person that used to own the domain name for a period of time. He doesn't own it anymore, and I'm sure he would have worked out monthly payments with that company, even if the price was exorbitant for them to pay that on a monthly basis and fit that into their budget. But they'd rather spend it on those billboards. And then at the same time, their potential customers are going to the .com that could have other pictures on it. It could have something totally different. And they're like, then that opportunity is gone. Like, how much money are you leaking out of the bucket with holes in it? It just doesn't, that stuff doesn't really make sense to me. One of the examples that I was thinking about talking about today too was, there's a company, we're selling the domain name login.com. Mm-hmm. And we're also selling the domain name, we're representing it, password.com. And we have companies like 1password.com, and LogMeIn and Dashlane that we have approached about these two domain names to see if they're interested, and it's been radio silence. They're not showing any interest, and we find it very strange that, especially Dashlane, they had some ads up. They did a Super Bowl ad, a 30-second Super Bowl ad, and then they had a blog that they sent the traffic to, and there was pictures on both sides of somebody in a robe floating in the air with clouds and talking about taking back the internet, and you weren't really sure what they did. And in the comment section, somebody said, I think they sell clouds or bathrobes, as a joke. And then you click on it, and it's like a 1Password solution. But if I'm going to give them, they're asking you to pay monthly X amount of dollars. It's like $5. They're asking you to give them every username and password to your entire life. They're asking you to give them all of your credit card numbers, right? Everything. And they're saying they're going to protect it on you, and their name is Dashlane. I don't understand. And they have a guy in a bathrobe with clouds in the background as their person. I don't understand I don't feel comfortable in giving all that information to them. If they own the domain name password.com, which is exactly what they're selling, and then they made the site almost look like it's a fortress, I'd be a little more into it to feel safe.
Sure.
So, I mean, at the very least,
Yep.
I'm going to go and talk to maybe Log Me In. But Log Me In doesn't really make sense because you don't say Log Me In. I feel like someone's trying to bang on the door. I would think about Login is probably a better name for their business, and it's more memorable. It creates more credibility. It's easier to spell. You know,
Sure.
you can advertise it on the radio. It checks off every single basic box of marketing, all the basic box of marketing rules, and it's perfect for any of these, these three businesses. So, I find it strange that those three haven't. I mean, we've still gotten interest from other parties, but those three players haven't. I guess I'm kind of calling them out here today on your blog. Hopefully they're listening, and I'd love to have a fruitful conversation with them
Well,
about
but yeah,
not
so
knocking
let's
them,
talk about, yeah, kind of recently though. Let's, look at Amazon. When, the Amazon originally was books, and now Amazon, the word Amazon and that brand has nothing to do really with, what the word is. So there are those, saying let's, or Target, or for example, Target, I think about, Target practice, or something I don't really necessarily think about. So there are those exceptions out there where, yeah, I mean, there are,
what does
as far as branding goes, right?
what does Amazon and Target have in common? They're one words.
Yes, that's
Right?
very, yes. And they have
Apple.
spent a lot of money, unfortunately, branding at this point, over the years.
Oh,
And uh, sure.
I mean, and then look at ring.com. So ring.com was a domain that we sold when I was at Uniregistry, and they sold the company. That company was sold within 2 or 3 years of launch to Amazon for over $1 billion. And the owner of
Yep.
that company, who was an ex-employee of Amazon, I'm not sure if you know this story, said they would never have gotten that valuation and they never would have gotten that purchase price without owning the domain name. If they didn't own Ring, they would have been,
Yep.
they never would have gotten the market share they should have. They never would have saw the growth that they were supposed to get, and they never would have gotten the purchase price that they got out of Amazon, ever.
Yep. Exactly.
Right? So I think that it's imperative for some of these companies. I mean, Dashlane would love to get a piece of LogMeIn's market share, and they're one of the first to the party, right? I mean, same with 1Password. They'd love to get a piece of LogMeIn's market share as well. They're late to the party. So how do you do it? You find the best possible brand that people are going to trust, and this is a massive leap of faith to any of these companies to give people this kind of information. And I think that is a perfect opportunity for them to prove that they're here for a long time, they're not going to get hacked, and that we're the leader in our space.
Sure. Let's change gears a little bit. Say I have a domain, or a couple domain names that I, bought. I woke up in the middle of the night and said, hey, that's a great idea for a company. I need to go and see if that domain name is available. I go on my phone and it's available, and I purchased it. And, now I'm 6 months later, and, now I haven't really started that project. I still own this domain. Now it's a year, or it's 11 and a half months later. Do I renew it or not? How do I figure out, that those domains that I, bought a while back? How do I figure it out, if I should drop them, or what the value is of those
Okay.
domains, and how would I go about selling them?
Okay. So I'm going to take you through kind of a speed version of this.
Sure.
So the first thing I would do is I would go to a website like Estabot. I'd put the domain name in there, I'd hit enter, I would see what kind of comes up there. I would look at different data, which would be comparable sales on there.
Yeah.
Look at those. I would take out the ones that are inferior. So you might see ones that just absolutely don't meet the criteria. If you want to go into like great detail, I have a YouTube channel called Saw Sells. There's actually one on there me teaching how to appraise domains, but this is the lazy man's way of doing it. Is I would see, what on there kind of matches up to similar quality. When I say similar quality, if the words make sense phonetically, like in a sentence, and you've heard both the words together before, that's a plus. If you haven't, or it's the wrong tense, it doesn't quite make sense, I'd immediately put like a little red X next to that one. And then I would certainly look there. Then I would think to myself, am I going to do this project? If I wake up 2 years from now, will I revisit it? Will I regret selling this? And if the answer is no, it's probably time to move on. So my suggestion to you would be going to a website like Namejet, going to GoDaddy, put some sort of a low reserve on the domain name and get rid of it. Now, if you multiply this, because I know that entrepreneurs like myself and like you, Bill, the gears are always spinning. So this isn't something that happens just once. It happens a lot. So then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and now you have 200 of these or 300 of these. And now you're spending $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 a year on renewals on ideas that are never going to happen. And you're carrying these. And even if you've invested $500 or $1,000 in this name, and even if you're only going to get $200 in the Namejet auction, take the loss, get your money, and move on to the next one. You got to let them go. That's the best advice I can give you. There's so many people that have come to me that have these big portfolios of thousands of names. They're carrying them year after year after year. There's no reason to carry half these names, and they're just throwing money in the trash because they spent more than the renewal on it, hundreds of dollars, and they're just unwilling to let it go. Let it go. Take that money, buy something else, buy a new dream, and move on with it. And get your write-off on your taxes. And take it. Sometimes you're going to make money, and you say, "Wow, that was great."
Yeah.
I'm gonna go buy my
Now
wife
there are certainly some exceptions to that, and the ones I would. This is from my experience, if you are actively getting offers or people are actually at least, let's say, I mean, it depends on what your definition of actively getting offers, but if you're once a week or once or several times a month somebody is sending you an email or contacting you, giving you an offer, then you probably would keep the name, right?
Yeah, it's like a volcano.
You wouldn't just drop it.
It's like a volcano. It's popping out a little ash and a little smoke and a little lava, and then eventually it's going to blow. So what I would certainly do is I would put it on the marketplaces, get it the exposure, put a price on it, get a good landing page on there. I like FD personally. It's a good little affordable solution. Have the leads dump into your email. You can connect it onto some CRMs out there, and then work those leads, or give a guy like me the opportunity to work on those opportunities.
Sure.
And put it up for sale. Those kinds of names are the best names because there's demand, and I would never let those go.
Yeah.
The stat that I would look at is if you have even one interested party or two interested parties a year on a name, I wouldn't just put it up for auction. I would probably sit on it, right? If it's making parking and it's making close to registration, so your carrying cost is $1 or maybe nothing, maybe you're making 10 cents a year on it, I wouldn't drop it because there's people coming to that name. That's showing there's something out there, there's a pulse, right? So I'd keep it. But if it's not making registration, it's not getting inquiries, and there's no action on it, give the hot potato to somebody else. Take your losses unless you've invested a lot of money in it, and let it go, right? That's my best advice that I can give you.
Yeah, or if there's any chance that you could potentially develop it, or have a writer write some content and put it out there. There's potential for, rather than just having it sit, just actually, developing into a 5, 10, 20 page site, that potentially, could get it going again.
Yeah, but again, now you're getting in even deeper, and there's a reason why there's nothing happening with the domain in the first place, right? That's why we're talking. It was the plan that never took off, right? The idea that never happened. I had this brilliant idea a long time ago that you can make a party table that was disposable, so it would come in like a bag that you get at the party store for like $10.
Sure.
But then when I figured out what design and engineering it and getting the everything started with it to make it, and then pitch that to like the party store and all these things. I mean, I would have had to pay every penny I had in the bank on a chance, and I didn't even understand the industry. So, that was
Well, but did
I
you
mean,
buy, disposablepartytable.com and then,
I did, but that dream is over. Like it's over now. So I'd sell that
yes,
name knowing that
gotcha.
even if it had an opportunity now, I have too many other things, and selling domain names for myself is a much more sure bet than me investing
Sure.
all this time, money, resources, and energy into this. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Take it off the chin.
All right. Sure. So with that said, we're just about out of time. So thanks for joining me today. How do we get in touch? Yeah, I know you mentioned your YouTube channel, Saw Sells, youtube.com/ or just look up, the YouTube channel Saw Sells. Go directly to saw.com. Is that the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, saw.com, go to the contact page. We do domain acquisitions where we act on behalf of buyers. We sell super premium names. We also manage people's domain portfolios where we would
Sure.
work on an entire portfolio where they would point their for sale landers to us, and then we would also be taking some of those names to market and selling them, and then appraisal services as well.
All right. Thanks again, Jeff. This has been the Digital Marketing with Bill Hartzer podcast. Thanks again, Jeff, and we'll see you online. Thanks.
Anytime. Thank you.